Warning: the following content contains mature subject matter. Viewer discretion is advised. Ho ho ho! Aaron Prella here, aka The Film Freak, and as you can tell, I am officially in the Christmas spirit. I got my Santa hat on, my festive red hoodie, and I'm psyched that it's my favorite time of year again. One thing I look forward to the most about Christmas, besides presents, are seeing Christmas movies being played on TV. And I'm not talking about those corny Hallmark Channel ones. I'm talking the classics. How the Grinch Stole Christmas, It's a Wonderful Life, Home Alone. Watching Christmas movies always gets me into the spirit. And of course, there's not just one movie I enjoy watching. There are several. So I thought for my next top 10 video, I'd make it a Christmas themed one and talk about what they are. So without further ado, please enjoy the Film Freak's top 10 favorite Christmas movies. Now before we begin, I'd like to point out that this was the top 10 video I was working on when my computer crashed last year. I worked very hard in restoring everything exactly how I had it, and I am so happy and relieved that I can finally show it off. Number 10, Bad Santa. Released in 2003 and directed by Terry Swigoff, an alcoholic and sex-addicted conman named Willie and his partner Marcus every year pose as a department store Santa and elf so they can use their employee status to crack mall security and rob stores just before Christmas. Their scheme is on the verge of falling apart this time when the mall's chief of security is called in to do some research on them and threatens to blow their cover. On top of that, Willie gets distracted by a bartender with a thing for Santas and a troubled kid who mistakes him as the real deal. And after befriending the kid and giving him some advice, he evokes genuine emotional change in Willie and teaches him the true meaning of Christmas. Bad Santa is one of those comedy films I can watch over and over and laugh at it every time. It's also not your typical Christmas flick, as most Christmas movies are meant to be family friendly, make you feel the holiday spirit, and even provide solace and reaffirmation. Bad Santa is mostly a raunchy, crude, and offensive escapade, but it's a pretty good movie. Billy Bob Thornton is awesome as Willie. Although he swears like crazy in the movie, he plays the role of a drunk guy very well, and all the scenes with him and Brett Kelly as the kid are hilarious and eventually heartwarming. And with other great performances from Tony Cox, Lauren Graham, the late Bernie Mac, and John Ritter, Bad Santa is one Christmas movie I always look forward to seeing. Number 9, Ernest Saves Christmas. Released in 1988, directed by John Cherry and the second film in the Ernest franchise, Ernest P. Worrell is working as a taxi driver in Orlando, Florida when he meets an old man who claims to be Santa Claus. When the man turns out to be Santa, he informs Ernest that he's in town looking for somebody to take over his duties and has until 7 p.m. on Christmas Eve to do so. And if he fails, then the magic, joys, and feelings of Christmas will be over forever. So Ernest, along with the help of a runaway girl, go to great lengths to help Santa find his replacement. Ernest Saves Christmas may not be the best Christmas movie story-wise, but it's not a terrible one either. I love watching this movie every year, and I love it because it's funny, lighthearted, and entertaining. Jim Varney is great as Ernest. Although the character can be a bit annoying at times, Jim plays him very well. Douglas Seal plays Santa, and I absolutely love his portrayal. He doesn't dress the part, but he certainly looks it, and out of all the actors who've portrayed Santa in other films, Douglas Seal's Santa, in my opinion, is one of the best. I recommend watching Ernest Saves Christmas if you haven't seen it before. Like I said, it's not the best Christmas movie, but it'll get you in the spirit for sure. Number 8, The Polar Express. Released in 2004, directed by Robert Zemeckis and based on the book by Chris Van Allsburg, a young boy who doubts the reality of Santa Claus is awakened on Christmas Eve by a train that shows up at his house and is invited to come on board by its conductor. As he and other children take an extraordinary train ride to the North Pole to visit Santa, the boy's life changes after he encounters special people that make the trip memorable and embarks on a journey of self-discovery that shows him that the wonder of life never fades for those who believe. I first remember seeing the trailer for The Polar Express and being a little creeped out by how the characters looked, but then my parents took me to go and see it after hearing people talk about how cool it was, and you know what? It blew my mind. Visually, this movie kicks ass. A lot of imagination went into the look and feel of everything, and the animation is so detailed and realistic looking, sometimes I forget this is an animated movie. I also love the fact that it's a Tom Hanks flick. This was his third movie with Zemeckis, and as always, he doesn't disappoint. Not only is he great as the conductor, but he's like 5 other characters in this movie, and each performance is just as great. The Polar Express is another movie that'll get you into the Christmas spirit, and I always look forward to watching it. Number 7. How the Grinch Stole Christmas. Released in 2000 and directed by Ron Howard, this live-action take on the classic Dr. Seuss story sees Jim Carrey as the Grinch, a reclusive and hairy green creature that hates Christmas and hatches a plan to steal everything Christmas-related from the cheerful townsfolk of Whoville, which he hates more. But when he encounters an endearing little girl named Cindy Lou Who, she tries to befriend the Grinch and stop him from ruining the holiday. I wouldn't have known this because I was only 7, but people had low expectations for this film when it was first announced. The only adaptation based on Dr. Seuss's book at the time was the 1966 animated TV special, and people thought a live-action version was gonna suck. But I can assure you that it doesn't. Ron Howard and producer Brian Grazer did a fantastic job bringing the story to the big screen, and having Jim Carrey as the Grinch was an awesome choice. I love Jim's portrayal of the Grinch. He may be unrecognizable under all that makeup, but he puts his own spin on playing the character while staying true to what the Grinch is all about. Taylor Momsen plays Cindy Lou, and though she may have been a few years older than the character, as Cindy Lou, she's freaking adorable. Another movie with a great supporting cast including Jeffrey Tambor, Christine Baranski, and Anthony Hopkins serving as the film's narrator, How the Grinch Stole Christmas is another Christmas movie I love watching. Number 6. Elf. Directed by Jon Favreau and also released in 2003, Will Ferrell stars as Buddy, a man who was raised as an oversized elf after stowing away in Santa's bag and accidentally brought to the North Pole as a baby. When Buddy learns that he's really a human, he travels to New York to find his biological father, Walter Hobbs. Walter is unaware of Buddy's existence, but after a DNA test proves that Buddy is his son, Walter attempts to start a relationship with him. Meanwhile, Buddy experiences the delights of New York City around Christmas time and embraces human culture as only an elf can. This is one of my most favorite Will Ferrell comedies. I don't know what it is about him playing childlike characters, but he pulls them off so well. And as Buddy, not only is he hilarious, but he's charming and very likable. He's also backed up by a star-studded cast including James Caan as Walter, Mary Steenburgen, Zooey Deschanel, Bob Newhart, and the late Ed Asner as Santa, and each of their performances are just as great. Another thing I find interesting about this movie is how they depict the North Pole in the beginning. From the elf costumes to the look of the North Pole and the stop-motion characters Buddy interacts with, they all look like they're straight out of Rankin and Bass's Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. I'm not sure why they made it out like that, but I've always liked it, and it makes the North Pole seem like such an innocent place. Number 5. Jingle All the Way. Directed by Brian Levant and released in 1996, a workaholic named Howard Langston promises to get his son Jamie the hottest toy of the season, Turbo Man. But there's a huge problem. It's Christmas Eve, and the toy is practically sold out. As Howard goes on a mission to hunt down the gift, he competes with a mailman named Myron who is also looking for a Turbo Man, and must also contend with a police officer and a shady Santa. One thing I love about Jingle All the Way is that it doesn't go down the emotional and moral-driven route most Christmas films take. Instead, it mostly shows how crazy the commercialization of Christmas can be, and the lengths people will go in order to find that special gift for someone. Even though the idea is displayed a bit over the top in some scenes, it makes the movie so entertaining. And the other thing I love is that it's a Schwarzenegger movie. If you know me personally, you will know that I am a huge Arnold Schwarzenegger fan, and this movie holds a special place in my heart as it also happens to be the very first Schwarzenegger movie I ever watched. I can't remember how old I was when I first saw it, but I've loved it since, and I praise Arnold for taking on a Christmas movie. Number 4. National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. Released in 1989, written by John Hughes, directed by Jeremiah S. Chechik, and the third film in the National Lampoon's Vacation series, Clark Griswold wants to have a special Griswold family Christmas and tries to make sure that everything is in line, like having the perfect tree and a decorated house. But as always, things don't go Clark's way. This time around, he has to put up with unsophisticated relatives, defective electronics, and a series of unfortunate events that unravel during the family's Christmas dinner. On top of that, Clark is awaiting anxiously for his Christmas bonus and gets an unexpected surprise when he discovers that his boss isn't giving them out. Christmas Vacation is such a classic. It's another one of those movies I can watch over and over and laugh at it every time. Chevy Chase once again comes out on top as Clark Griswold, and with Beverly D'Angelo, Randy Quaid, Juliette Lewis, William Hickey, and a few others, there are so many laughs to go around, and they all do such a great job delivering them. Definitely give this one a watch if you haven't seen it. It's a standalone movie too, so you don't have to watch the first two Vacations in order to understand this one. Number 3, The Santa Claus. Directed by John Pasquin and released by Walt Disney Pictures in 1994, this movie tells the story of Scott Calvin, an ordinary man who becomes the new Santa Claus. When Scott accidentally causes Santa to fall off his roof on Christmas Eve, he puts on his suit and takes over for the night. Scott is then shocked to learn that by doing this, he's magically been recruited to be the new Santa for next Christmas. As he now has to deal with sudden changes in his appearance and keeping his new identity a secret, Scott must also contend with his ex-wife who grows suspicious over his behavior and their son Charlie's sudden obsession with Santa Claus. This movie may have the same idea as Ernest Saves Christmas with the whole becoming the next Santa thing, but this is one of the best Disney Christmas movies I've ever seen. Tim Allen was at the peak of his career when doing the Santa Claus, and this is a movie that was perfectly fit for him. He does a great job developing his character, and opposite Eric Lloyd who plays Charlie, not only is he another actor who makes a great Santa, but as Scott Calvin, he makes an awesome dad. I love watching the Santa Claus every year, and I would like to say that the Santa Claus 2 and 3 are just as enjoyable, but in my opinion, they're not. Number 2, A Christmas Story. Released in 1983, directed by the late Bob Clark and based on Gene Shepard's book In God We Trust, All Others Pay Cash, set in the 40s, a 9-year-old boy named Ralphie dreams of having the ideal Christmas gift, a genuine Red Ryder 200-shot carbine action air rifle. He first tells his mom he wants one, but when she responds with "you'll shoot your eye out," Ralphie goes on a full-scale Santa-begging campaign and struggles to make it to Christmas Day with his hopes intact. I want to thank my parents for getting me hooked on this one. They first saw A Christmas Story back in '83 in theaters, and ever since then, this movie has always been a must-watch in my household. I love this movie for 2 reasons. 1, it has tons of classic moments like Randy's oversized snowsuit, Flick getting his tongue stuck to a flagpole, Ralphie beating up Scut Farkus, Ralphie's bunny suit, and that trademark leg lamp the old man wins. And 2, it has great quotes, from "you'll shoot your eye out" and "I can't put my arms down" to "I triple dog dare ya," "oh fudge," and my mom's favorite,
"Fragile." It must be Italian.
You'll be shouting these lines till the cows come home. A Christmas Story is a hilarious and genuine movie, and I recommend this one too if you haven't seen it. Now before I get into my number 1 pick, here are a few honorable mentions. Christmas with the Cranks. Another Christmas flick starring Tim Allen, he and Jamie Lee Curtis play Luther and Nora Crank, a couple who initially planned to skip the festivities and go on a cruise after their daughter Blair leaves for Peru. But when she later tells them that she's coming home for Christmas, Luther and Nora must now set aside their travel plans and scramble to put together a holiday celebration. A lot of people may hate this movie because of how obnoxious all the characters are, but I like it because it's another Christmas comedy I can watch over and over and laugh at every time. It has outrageous plot devices and jokes, and just seeing the lengths Luther and Nora first go through planning their trip, then having to get ready for Blair's visit is super hilarious. Scrooged. Bill Murray stars as Frank Cross, a television executive who is visited by the ghosts of Christmas past, present, and yet to come in this wacky take on A Christmas Carol. Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol has inspired numerous movie adaptations over the years. What I like about Scrooged, other than the fact that it's a feel-good Christmas movie, I like how it's a modern-day take on the classic story. Plus, it's one of my favorite Bill Murray movies. Home Alone 2, Lost in New York. While attempting to catch a flight to Florida with his family, Kevin McAllister loses track of them at the airport and mistakenly boards a plane bound for New York City. All alone in the Big Apple, Kevin first enjoys his time there, but when he learns that Harry and Marv have escaped from jail and are planning to rob an elderly man's toy store, Kevin tries to stop them and fend them off once again. Home Alone 2, in my opinion, is the only good sequel in the series. Sure, it may be a bigger budget remake of the first movie, but I like it for one main reason: where it's set. Since seeing Home Alone 2, I've desperately wanted to take a trip to New York and experience the same adventure Kevin did. And my number 1 favorite Christmas movie? Home Alone. Released in 1990, directed by Chris Columbus and also written by John Hughes, 8-year-old Kevin McAllister is accidentally left behind by his family when they leave for Paris for Christmas. At first, Kevin enjoys the freedom of having the entire house all to himself, but when 2 thieves target the house as part of a neighborhood heist, Kevin must find a way to fend them off and protect his family's home, while his family are in a rush and struggle to get home to him. Now, Home Alone may be my 5th favorite movie in general, but out of all the Christmas movies I just talked about, it is my most favorite. Everybody has seen this movie, and to this day, it is still being watched and is one of the most beloved Christmas movies ever. Macaulay Culkin is fantastic as Kevin McAllister. He's funny, he's clever, adorable, and you couldn't have asked for a better kid playing him. Joe Pesci and Daniel Stern as the two thieves Harry and Marv are awesome, and they keep you laughing anytime they're on screen. And with Catherine O'Hara, John Hurd, Robert Blossom, and John Candy in supporting roles, Home Alone is not only a great movie at Christmas time, but it's great to watch all year round. And that concludes my top 10. What's your favorite Christmas movie? Hit me up in the comment section below, and while you're at it, like and subscribe if you're digging my content. Every bit of support helps. Well, thank you so much again for watching, and stay tuned for the next video.